Hi, thanks for joining me for Coffee and Card at Home. So this is week 2 of our Zoom sessions using the Easter Friends and the So Lovely label punch. And we're going to make a card today, I'll show you, using an aperture idea on the front. So I've cut apertures using the label punch, and then I've put the animals in the background so that you can actually see them there. So what you're going to need is you're going to need a card base. This one I've just shown you uses Old Olive. The one I'm going to show you now uses Just Jade. This is C6, which is half of an A4 sheet and then scored at 10.5 centimetres. And then we're going to take our label punch, and just on one side of the card we're going to push it up as far as it will go and line it up at the side with the card and then punch. And then same on the other side, line it up as far as it will go and then punch. And then you should hopefully have 2 inline apertures. So then we're going to take a piece of white card which measures 14.3 by 10 centimetres, and we're going to stick that onto the inside of the card, and then this is where we are going to stamp our images. So I'm just going to stick that inside, and it just gives me a very small border all the way around. And then so that we know where to stamp our images, we're just going to close this down again. I'm going to get a pencil. I'm just going to put a dot at the top and bottom and one at each side of the apertures, just so that I know where it's okay to stamp my image. Now on my original one, you'll see that I didn't put the images down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover that little bit with a Post-it note or a scrap piece of card, something like that, just so that when you stamp them, they're not going to go too much further down on the card below. So I'm going to start with my duck. I'm going to stamp him in Memento black. I'm just going to make sure that when you stamp him, obviously he's not going to go too far out of that outline. And then I'm going to stamp my rabbit. Now I'm not going to ink all of the rabbit up because it's quite a large stamp and we don't need to see the bottom. So we're only going to see the head of the rabbit. Then I can remove the Post-it note, and then you should be able to see that those bits have not been stamped on there. So we're just going to do some colouring in. So I'm using Daffodil Delight and Pumpkin Pie for my duck. I'm going with the darker Daffodil Delight, and then I'll go back in to add in some of the shading. But the nice thing about the stamp set is obviously most of it has been done for you because they've got their little kind of crosshatch design on there, which kind of is quite useful sometimes because it shows you where you would need to shade. And then I'm just going to colour in his beak with pumpkin pie. Just going to go back with the darker shade again, just to add a bit of depth over that cross hatching. And then for the bunny, I'm using a darker shade of Crumb Cake. And then for the shading, I'm using Bronze. And then I'm just using the bronze to just pick up some of this darker shading. And his nose. And I'm just going to go back with the Crumb Cake again, just to blend some of those colours together a little bit better. Okay, and then just before we go back to the front of the card, I'm just going to use a pencil eraser just to rub out these little dots that I made. And when you close that up, hopefully you should see the images through. So what we're going to do next is I've got a small piece of card to put my sentiment on. So the width of this card is 2 centimeters wide, and I'm just going to stamp Happy Easter, and I'm just going to stamp it in black, but you could coordinate it with whatever colour you've got for your card base if you like. Just line it up, try and get it straight. I do really like this font actually from this set. It's a really nice sort of handwritten style. And then we're just going to cut the end. You could of course do it on a trimmer if you don't trust your cutting. And then we're just going to attach that to the front with some more dimensionals. So just like I did before, I'm going to use up some of my scraps. So I'm just using some of my edges. I do like to make sure that I use up all my bits. I don't waste anything. So just line that up, make sure it's central, and then the final thing to do is just to tie myself a bow, and I'm using the Just Jade ribbon with the gold through it, which is quite a pretty ribbon. And then I'll just chop those off at the end, and I'll make sure that I cut them on the diagonal because this ribbon does have a tendency to fray. And then I'm just going to stick that on with a glue dot. Just on there. And that's finished. I'll bring back one of my other ones. You can see obviously a slight difference depending on the colour of the card and the ribbon used. But I think you'll agree that's quite a nice cute Easter card that could also be turned into a nice child's card as well. So just a quick recap, I have used a C6 card base in either Old Olive or Just Jade. I've cut the apertures out using the So Lovely label punch. I've stamped the images with the Easter Friends and of course the sentiment as well, coloured in with Stampin Blends, and then stamped my sentiment and attached a bow onto the front. So if there's any questions that you have, please do let me know. If there's anything you'd like to order, please get in touch and I can add that onto an order for you. And I will see you next time for week 3 using the Easter Friends, and that will be our session just before Easter, so another Easter card if you wish. Anyway, have a good week and I shall see you soon. Take care. Bye.